It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 140 today. Another one of our Wednesday extravaganzas. Just Frank and Lisa, just Lisa and Frank. Whichever order you put us in, that's fine with us. We're just glad that you are here, listening, hopefully clothes-free for all the right reasons while you're listening, and ready to enjoy the next, remember on Saturdays I like to say for the next hour, because that is exactly 1 hour every Saturday. Wednesdays, we bob and weave, and when we're done, we're done. We have an agenda, we have notes, and we don't push it. We just relax a little bit. But we try to be done in under an hour, and we've done that every Wednesday show except for one. We went over an hour a little bit. So let's say 50 minutes or so, 45. We'll be together. That's the most important part. So come on in. The pool is fine, ready to go. Fully cleaned this morning, fresh as a daisy. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Help yourselves there. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks are inside. That's coffee, tea. We have an espresso machine. You can help yourself there as well. If you leave the pool area, outside the left door, you'll find a hammock strung between two trees. Need a break? Want to relax? Get away from it all for a moment? That's your place to go. Behind the pool area, outside the screen, we have 3 putting greens. Help yourself. Practice your putting a little bit. All suggested by some of our listeners. The putting greens, the hammock, the espresso machine, all recommended. And if you come back inside the pool area in the back left corner, we have a little cigar bar there. Help yourself. Everything is free and available. We're just glad that you're here. And if you just happen to wander by accident, well, guess what? We have extra towels. We have extra chairs. We have extra suntan lotion. Anything and everything that you will need to get through the day is here. You've come to the right place. Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. Really glad you're here today. We started these Wednesday shows, I believe, on July 30th, and we said we'll do most Wednesdays. Well, if there are 52 Wednesdays in a year, divide that in half, that'd be 26. So to do most, we'd have to do at least 27, right? Well, here we are on November 12th. We've done every Wednesday, and I believe today is the 15th extravaganza or 16th. I've lost count. But we're well on our way to 27. We'll easily make that. And so the point is we've done every blasted Wednesday since then. We haven't done most. We've done all. But eventually we'll take a Wednesday off to kind of catch our breath a little. But it's so hard to do because we enjoy doing this. We know that you enjoy listening. It's a great partnership that we have with you as you listen to the show. And we always encourage you to write in. And multiple ways to address that. I'll give you all the details near the end of the show, how to reach us. But certainly email, Twitter, Blue Sky, even our Patreon page, our YouTube page, Spotify, website. We'll give you more details near the end of the show. We do enjoy hearing from you early and often, so please keep the cards and the letters coming. If there's something you like, something you want more of, then let us know. And that's how these Wednesday shows developed. You were writing in saying we really enjoy the Lisa Frank segments the most, basically. And the data backed that up as we looked at the shows. I've mentioned this before. The highest listened to segments on every show were the Frank Lisa segments. A slight drop-off after that, not a significant drop-off, but enough that we noticed. And then when you said the same thing, hey, we like the Frank Lisa Frank segments the most, well, how could we get more time? Well, we really couldn't if we're going to keep the interviews going on the Saturday shows. So we decided to start a different show, another show, I should say, another way of doing the show. Same show, just a different way of doing it. On Wednesdays, no guests, strictly Lisa Frank, Frank Lisa, however you say it. And you get the two of us on every single Wednesday. It's supposed to be most Wednesdays. It's been every Wednesday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time. And of course, the Saturday shows, which have been going strong now since July 1st of 2023, every single Saturday. Just think about that for a minute. We have not missed one Saturday, not for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter or vacations or hurricanes or anything else. Just like the mailman, we deliver every single Saturday, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Spotify. We've not missed yet. We know the day will come when we will. Either something in life going on that we have to take care of with a friend or a relative, or maybe a hurricane wipes out the power, as it did last year, but it wiped it out after we did a show, and it was restored before the next show came up, so we didn't lose any shows there or lose any weeks. But we enjoy being with you every Wednesday now and every Saturday since July 1st of 23. Clothes-free living for all the right reasons. No better way to go through life. Just keep it safe and do not get in trouble with the law. Don't go out there on Main Street and willy-nilly walk up and down, hey, baby, I'm naked as a jaybird on Main Street. Now, that will ruin your day and maybe a whole lot longer after that. So don't do that, but do enjoy clothes-free living for all the right reasons. As you are with us here on Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 140. And I don't know about you, but as I've been talking the last few moments here, I think I hear some music underneath my voice. Do you hear it? Let's listen together. Oh, yes, I hear the music. I know what that means. You know what that means. That means that it's time for the one and only, the one of a kind, the completely over the top, fully clothes free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over the top, fully clothes free, and completely smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific, Frank. How about yourself?
Not bad at all. Still getting outside and enjoying life to its fullest, meaning clothes free. Those days will come to an end soon, as we know, but we're doing our best. How about you?
This is true. All we can do is our best.
Well, are you getting outside?
I am trying to get outside as much as possible, and actually sometimes it's warmer outside than it is inside.
Oh,
So yeah, it's nice to get out in the sun. That makes all the difference.
oh, yeah. How late can you get outside and still feel comfortable, even if it's dark?
As long as it stays in the 70s pretty much, and the upper 70s especially, I'm pretty comfortable being out, but usually have a sweater on. I'm sorry. But if it gets down to the 60s, that's winter clothes for me. So can't deal with it. So I try to not get out when it's that chilly.
Do you ever encounter a neighbor? Let's say it's 65 and you have sweater on. Do they ever say anything to you like, what the heck? You realize it's 65 or not?
Uh, no, not really. I think a lot of people get colder down here and tend to put on more clothes when it gets that way. But when I lived in a cold climate, I used to joke that I get cold if it gets under 80, and I moved down here and found out that was actually true.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of the aberrant person when it comes to weather. So I'm not the one to measure things by.
Well, you said it a long time ago. It depends on what you get used to.
It does. It really does.
I suppose if we moved way up north, northern U.S., even into Canada, yeah, we'd freeze our tails off for a little bit, but eventually we'd kind of sort of maybe not get used to it, but we would adjust to a degree, right?
You adjust to it, learn how to cope with it. I think all of those things, just like we have to here when it gets, incredibly hot. When you last summer, not this summer, I think South Florida had over a month, maybe 30 plus days of 100 plus temperatures every single day. And some of those heat indexes in some areas were getting up to 122. And
Oh,
so, we definitely learned how to cope, and that was stay inside in the air conditioning. But you learn how to layer, you learn, to keep cotton clothes on and drink and stay hydrated and all that. So, because like you said, you have to adjust.
yeah, I know that's, I will admit, even for me, a heat index of 122 is a tad on the hot side.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess we'll just do the best we can. Whatever the weather is, we just bob and weave and make the best and go on, right?
That's all we can do. And I do feel sorry for all the people who are facing some winter weather. So just stay warm and stay inside and listen to the show. Hopefully that'll help.
That's right. Now, on today's show, before we get to today's show, obviously we have the USA Thanksgiving coming up in just a few weeks. And then obviously the Christmas season, New Year's season. As of this moment, we don't have any plans to miss any Wednesdays or Saturdays. We might miss a Wednesday or two. We haven't talked about that. But just to catch up with life, we might not. But as of this moment, even the day before Thanksgiving, we plan to be here. So if you're thinking, as a listener, what am I going to do without Lisa and Frank over Thanksgiving? Well, we'll be here. We'll be here the day before. We'll be here 2 days after, unless something occurs. So those are the plans to be here continuously. If we need to take a day off, we'll let you know in advance, somehow, some way, probably through social media. Okay, Lisa Monroe, let's dive into this. We have a one-topic show today, and we've been putting it out there all over the place, email, social media, even on the show. Should we do video of this show? Now, we already record video of the show. You and I record our segments, audio,
Mhm.
obviously, but we also do video. And we do video with the guests. Well, that's a different ballgame altogether. We'd have to get permission from them. But you and I doing video, see, the part we didn't explain is it's a really tight fit in here. And even though we have cameras on us, it's not really what I would call, TV ready or movie quality. It's just kind of sort of capturing us as we are. If we went to video, we would probably have to do this in two different rooms or two different locations to fit both of us in the same room with cameras, because this studio is not built as a video studio. Would be tough. So we'd have to be at two different locales. But before we get to that, we're not even sure if we should be doing video. We are an audio show, we are a podcast. We produce content, information. We try to be entertaining. We even try to be funny on occasion. And I succeed greatly at that, don't I, Lisa? I think you would agree.
You certainly do.
And I didn't even pair to say that. How about that?
Mhm. I know better. I just need to go with the flow here.
All
That'll
right.
work.
All right. And so we put a lot of time and energy into that, not bobbing and weaving and dancing around and just, I guess if we sang songs or if we did dance or you twirled the baton or whatever, yeah, a video would make a lot more sense because those are visual acts. Basically, this show, what you would see is two people sitting at microphones talking.
Yeah.
Now, does that enhance the show? I don't know. That's why we put it out there. Well, we got a lot of reaction, and we're going to go through some of those reactions, which are pretty much a representation of everything that we got. And we're only using first names today because actually I didn't ask for permission to read these. Some of them gave permission. They'd send a letter and they'd say, "Oh, by the way, you can read this on the air if you want to." But the first one is from Peter. And if you don't mind, can you go ahead and read that?
I'll be glad to. It said, Peter says, I wouldn't worry about the video. I would change the cover logo of your in and in on Spotify with you two from the shoulders up. Classic headshot will help people connect the face with the name.
Okay. And that seems to be the prevailing thought. Before I give any comments, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we started this not ever thinking about that. But I don't really have a problem with photograph. I understand because I've also wanted to see the people that I've listened to forever. So I think, it's a reasonable request.
Okay. I had, when I was a kid getting into maybe middle school and then beyond, there was a guy in town considered to be an opera star, although he wasn't a true, well, I guess he was. He'd sing opera all over town with the local symphonies. And then he got on the radio and he did a radio show. And he was really good at it, interviewed people well and, mixed and mingled and added some humor information, kind of like we do. He did a really good job. And then I was playing with the symphony orchestra, and he showed up. He was the guest vocalist. And I thought, well, this is going to be like my lucky day. I get to meet the guy and see what he looks like and talk to him because way back then, when I was maybe 20 or 21, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that's a long time ago. And it was before the interwebs. We couldn't just look him up and see what he looks like. So he showed up, didn't look anything at all like I thought he would. Now, that's a guy I actually met in person, one of the few. And most of the ones, and I saw pictures of them, but in my head, I pictured, okay, he probably looks like this, and hair is like this, height is probably this, weight is probably about this. You just get a mental picture in your head. And every time I'd see a picture, it wasn't even close. And every time, eventually, some of them would go on TV, it's not even close. So I'm guessing you think people will respond that way if we put headshots up like, whoa, didn't expect that, good or bad. It's just different than they pictured. What do you think?
Well, as a writer, one of the things that I've always been taught is not to over describe your character unless there's a reason.
Mhm.
And if you are going to describe something, say, they're a redhead or a blonde or a brunette, or they're, extremely tall or whatever, early on, before they get their image of their character in their head, because when you do show them, if say you forget and you mention, oh, the main character's a redhead, and people don't see that character that way, then they're confused, and it kind of pulls them out of the story a little bit because that's not what they thought. So I think there's kind of a thought about both. I don't think that people necessarily, they might say, oh, I didn't think they looked like that. And maybe in real life, it's not quite as difficult that they won't say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know they look like that." And well, that ruins everything. So who knows? But I don't think that'll happen because I don't think that any of our listeners are certainly that shallow. But I think it can be a chance to have to do, but it's worth a shot, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and you talked about writing, and I semi alluded to this a show or two or three or 10 ago.
Mhm.
When you write, it's obviously different than when you watch it on TV or see a movie.
Very much so.
They actually show you something. For example, if you say she got out of her car in her best dress before she walked into the building. Okay, what kind of car was she driving? Well, the author didn't say. So you have to picture, is it a Lincoln, a Cadillac, a Pinto? We don't know. And her best dress, would that be a short dress, a long dress, a mid thigh, whatever they call them? And what color? Was there a collar, long sleeve, sleeve, short sleeve? You don't know. And that's the beauty of writing. And to me, that's also the beauty of radio is a lot is left to your imagination. We purposely leave details out so you can think. And I'm sure most people think this about me. They hear my voice and they probably think, well, he's probably definitely a combination, a cross section of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Robert Redford, and Brad Pitt. And I get that all the time. Actually, I've never gotten that in my life, but it sounds like a fantasy that would be nice if it came true, right?
Well, you may be just as good. Yeah, at that and I probably shouldn't say maybe. I think in everyone's just as good. So I don't think they're going to be upset in any way, shape, or form. But stop and think about something, people. That how many times have a television or movie company taken a favorite book of yours and turned it into television and cast someone, and you go, oh my goodness, why did they cast that person? That's not anything like the character in the book. Well, it may
Mhm.
be fine for somebody else, it may not be for you. So the fact is that it's six of one, half dozen of the other. People are either going to enjoy it or they're not. So
Yeah. So that's a thought from Peter.
mhm,
No need for the video. In fact, he even said I wouldn't worry about the video, but classic headshot will help people connect a face with a name. No, that's true.
mhm.
Let's move on to the next one. This is from a gentleman named Jason. I'll read the first paragraph. Dear NNNPJs. He calls us PJs, and in parentheses it says podcast jockeys. Okay, I was worried at first. He said, as I think of you two, LOL, which can be quite ironic considering most of us listeners probably cringe at the thought of wearing PJs. Well, yeah, no kidding, Jason.
Exactly. What are PJs?
I know, I think, I shouldn't say I know, I think I have a pair somewhere that somebody bought for me, maybe when I was in high school. I think I still have those. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I've moved so many times and you throw stuff away when you move. I might have tossed those because what the heck is the point?
Exactly.
But he calls us PJs, podcast jockeys. Well, that's better than,
Mm.
see, that's a safe way. Instead of Lisa,
Yes.
Frank, and Lisa getting in trouble with one of us,
Yes.
podcast jockeys, we're good to go. All right. Once you take the middle paragraph there.
I was thinking after listening to the latest episode about your question about videos on the podcast. Well, I have often wondered what your team on the show looks like. I think basic headshots on the podcast picture or on the website would be great, as I tend to believe that if the video was available, that others may be looking for more than just the great naturist content. I may be wrong, but who knows? I really love your show as it has helped me quite a bit with accepting my body. Thanks for all that you do and can't wait for the next episode.
Okay. Now that's was a concern of mine too. People go on the internet, they're in their parents' basement or whatever. Maybe they're in their own basement and they say, I want to check out some naked people. Hey, here's a naked show. Well, why fire it up? Well, we don't want people seeking us out to see naked people. We want people seeking us out for the content and what we bring to the world of naturism, or as we call it, clothes free living for all the right reasons. Nothing sexual and nothing inappropriate, certainly not pornography. And there are people who look for that, and if they find us while they're searching for that, that's not good. And it
Mm.
will denigrate the overall product here because we never want to be associated with any of that junk. What are your thoughts on that?
And that's also a concern of mine. And I think we've seen this happen. I know several months ago, maybe in a year or so ago, someone who posts nudes on social media had called out someone because apparently a friend of theirs photo had been taken and posted into a site that was basically a porn site. And
Mm.
so they were, very upset, called this particular individual out and gave his hashtag how to get to him. And within probably a couple of hours, that person who was upset, who was a naturist who posted nudes, suddenly had thousands of hits and thousands of new followers. And I can bet you that was not from the naturist community, but that was from the community looking for nude photos. And so that is a problem that we all run into. And it's wrong if any, people shouldn't steal your photos. But the fact is if you put them out there and they're not private, then guess what? Someone can. So I think it's a real concern for us, and I think it should be a concern for everyone.
Yeah. Now, these comments that we're reading today were not placed in a particular order on purpose. They were randomly, as they came in, we threw them on the show notes.
Right.
But that's the first two talk about don't need video, headshots would be nice, is basically what they're saying. And we didn't pick those two in order to drive the point home, just to let people know it's a total coincidence. As he said, I think basic headshots on the podcast picture or on the website would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, so that's two. And we move along to a gentleman named Greg. We've read his comments before. And Lisa, if you don't mind taking the opening line plus the first paragraph, go right ahead.
Hi, FL. In parentheses says, I was going to say Freesia and Lank, but Mark beat me to it.
That's true.
Yes. I love they're having fun with this. Anyway, his next paragraph is I think it would be really fun to see a video of Lisa dancing into or out of the studio. The problem is that it would probably end up on Pornhub 15 minutes after you posted it, and it definitely does not belong there. Yeah, does definitely does not belong there.
All right. So before I read the final paragraph, he said, I think it'd be really fun to see a video of Lisa dancing into or out of the studio. I agree, Greg. I think that's the best idea we've had yet. And Lisa, why don't we just do that?
No. And you may not get to see it either.
Well, this is episode 140, which means after today's show, will have seen you dance out of the studio 140 times, dancing away from me and leaving the studio. Why should I be the selfish guy? Why shouldn't I share the joy with the entire world? I'm just asking.
Well, if I could dance better, maybe it would be different, but I'm not too sure that it's all that terrific.
But he is right, and that's the concern that we have too. The problem is that it would probably end up on Pornhub 15 minutes after you posted it. It definitely does not belong there. Right. That's our concern. We are not tied to that. We don't want to be tied to that, and kind of protect that fairly carefully. And then the last paragraph from Greg. However, if you could just post a headshot of yourselves on the NNN website, it would greatly enhance our ability to mentally picture all of your interactions on your show. I really enjoy the banter, etc., between you two, and being able to correctly picture your faces while listening would be appreciated. And we thank Greg for that letter. Now, I had just put out, a few moments ago, a lot of people probably picture me as the combination of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Robert Redford, Brad Pitt. What do you think they picture you as?
Well, I have no idea. I don't really think a lot about that, so I don't really know, what the perception is, and so I'm not even sure I could speculate on that. So
Well, that's about the most boring answer ever. Let's dive into this now. You've mentioned Halle Berry
Yeah,
before.
well, I actually think Halle Berry is one of the most beautiful women in the world. I always have thought that. And so, if they thought of me that way, that would be wonderful. Trust me, that is not the case. But if they thought of me that way, that would be great. I think, again, people perceive you from what your voice sounds like. They probably think I'm 12 from, the fact that my voice is a little higher pitched sometimes. But so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. 12 is ridiculous. You're 20. You're 27. Everybody knows that. So
Yes, this is true.
all right. Let's go on. We have another one from Gerald. I think that I must have hit the wrong button. I just got through listening to today's show. In it, you wondered what people's thoughts were about you doing videos. That, of course, would be nice, but you could also just have a photo of you two, just like you sometimes have of the guests. So that is my opinion on the matter. Thank you. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's a theme running here, which is kind of surprising, I think, to both of us that people seem to just, not care about video, don't care about seeing us every day, but would just like to know what we look like.
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be going on. And again, this is not lined up. We didn't stack the deck. And there are people who have said, video would be nice. And so Gerald's view, very similar to the first few we did. And I, let's just continue to read on. We have some other comments as well. But surprisingly, now this surprised me. I thought 100% would say yes, yes, video. But that's not been the case. Does that surprise you at all?
It really has surprised me because I guess we're so used to seeing social media where everybody posts a photo that, I think sometimes we get lost in that bubble of social media and don't realize that that's just a small portion of the naturist community. And it appears that a lot of those people think like we do, which is, that I'm okay with nude photos when they're in an appropriate situation. You're at an event, you're at a meeting, whatever it is about naturism, but just gratuitous photo shots, yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
No, but I meant more the video. I expected 100% to say yes, please do video and please post video. Does it surprise you that it's been almost 100% not video?
Yes, it has.
Yeah, yeah, me too. All right, let's read on. I'm only laughing because the intro coming up.
Yes.
This is from a gentleman named Wilson. We've read his views on the show before as well. And Lisa, why don't you take it away? Take the opening and the first two paragraphs.
The opening is "Hello, Lank and Freesia," and with a happy face. That's getting to be a common thing now. I had never thought much about the question you posed today, but as far as video clips for your show, I'm probably in the minority, but here goes. I believe that just like clothing often makes a woman more seductive because of the hidden mystique factor, the same would go for your show. I had a job where I was on the phone a lot and dealt with very specific customers. It was interesting to see that when I would eventually meet some of those customers, the picture in my head was very close to what they looked like. The more common thing, however, was that they didn't look anything like I thought they did.
That's true. Yeah, that's exactly it. And, I have See, I mastered only through really hard work and lots of practice and years of making mistakes. I got to the point where I had mastered the art of using the telephone. And I could call people up and I could kind of sort of get my way because of my voice, the way I presented myself.
Hmm.
And I am not, and this will surprise you, Lisa, I am not physically the largest human being who ever lived. Would you agree with that, first of all?
Yes.
Okay.
Neither am I. So,
Thank you for not providing details. Just a simple yes is all we needed. Okay, so I would call people, and in my role, I'd say, can I speak to so and so? I'm sorry, he's in a meeting. Can I take a message? Well, yes, this is Frank Stone, and I'm the CEO of. Mr. Stone, hang on 1 minute. He just came out, and so partially because of my name and position, but also because of my voice on the phone, as many people have told me. Well, then eventually, not everybody, but some people would finally meet me. I'd walk in. I say, "Hello, I'm Frank Stone here to meet so and so," and I could tell by the look, like, "You're Frank Stone? What?" I think they pictured, 7'5" and two
mhm.
hundred eighty pounds and muscles from here to there, and three Arnold Schwarzeneggers in one or whatever. And so it's kind of funny, when he says, "I believe clothing often makes a woman more seductive." Well, the same would go for your show. And just kind of, as he said, he's in the minority opinion. At least he thinks so. Surprisingly, he's not. He's in the vast majority. I would say 95% or more have said, we don't need video. Well, a photo would be nice of your headshot. But I just find that interesting because it usually I can kind of sort of get close to the reaction we're going to get. This one blew me away. It's not even close to what I thought it would be. What about you?
It wasn't with me either. Just it, I in this world today of things that are very visual and people seem to demand more and more visual things. It was a bit of a shock that that wasn't necessary for people. So the one thing that I hope is that means that they're getting the satisfaction that they need from the show and what's being said and the comments from listeners and the discussions that that the other part's just fluff and it's not necessary.
Yeah. And you'll see that a lot of times in various walks of life. The content really isn't very good. So let's jazz it up. Let's have, 10 nearly nude women dancing behind the singer because the singer is no good.
Hmm.
Or let's doll up the place with flowers because the food is no good. That's done a lot. And it's done with people too. If somebody says, well, I'm not in very good shape, but hey, if I wear this dress or that suit, I'll look better. And so they do. That's exactly how people work. But he went on to say, but that was work, when he was talking about when he would
Hmm.
talk to people on the phone. He goes, this is entertainment. So
Hmm.
think back to Home Improvement. Remember that show with Tim Allen and some
Oh
other.
yes, very much.
He said, Wilson, the neighbor, would not have been nearly as interesting if he had shown his face. And he's the guy on the other side of the fence. You never saw him, but you heard him.
No.
Yeah.
And heard his words of wisdom.
Yeah. I think leaving just a little bit to our imagination is probably a good thing. Well, that's even more bizarre to me in terms of a reaction than I was expecting. The first few, no video but a headshot. This guy's,
Hmm.
you leave everything to the imagination. That might be the way to go too. And if you don't mind, can you go ahead and finish his letter?
Having said that, I do think if you were to somehow give us a clip of your studio and other pertinent areas where you work, that would help us to feel a little more familiar with the broadcast and a little more like we were visiting friends on Saturday morning. Just my opinion, and you get what you pay for. And another happy face. Keep the
That's
great
right.
shows coming.
All right. Well, we thank you for that, Wilson. So, oh, wait a minute. His name's Wilson. Was he the neighbor in the Tim
Ah,
Allen
oh
show?
my gosh, maybe.
Maybe we're amongst the celebrity. We didn't even know it.
My goodness, it very well may be.
Yeah, I am kidding, but who knows?
He
We, have,
was my favorite character on the show anyway, so
we don't have video of Wilson either, so maybe it
no,
is the. But then
we
how
don't.
would we know? Because we never saw the TV guy, right?
That's exactly right.
All right. Let's get to the last letter we have for today. And this is from Graham. He writes almost every day, not quite every day, but multiple days. And he has a totally different take. And if you don't mind, can you go ahead and read Graham's letter?
Graham says, I think it would be of immense value. While the podcasts are brilliant and of great value, we are still visual beings. Videos would add substantially because the nonverbal communication would also be picked up by the listeners.
Now, that is what I was expecting 100% of the people to say, because
Yes.
they hear us and we are radio people, we're content driven. This is going to sound a little pompous, and I don't mean it to be that way. We don't really feel the need to doll things up here and make it look cuter because we think the content stands on its own. In fact, we want the content to stand on its own. And if it doesn't, or if it didn't, what's the point of doing a show if you can't support it with your own content? But he sent another letter. As I've said, we are visual beings, and our major sense is our sight. That aside, images add authenticity to the experience, and naturism is about reality and authenticity. Well, who can possibly argue with that?
No one.
Yeah, exactly. And then he finished up personally, providing it's for the right reasons. I've never shied away from images or declaring I'm a naturist. I see hiding, either visually or in total, as just another facade. Have a great day. Very good point. And that's what I expected pretty much everybody to say. Yes, we want to know what you look like. And obviously, a headshot is different than video.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to use my hands, at least I think so. I tend to use my hands more than you do when I'm expressing a thought. And good thing nobody's within, a few feet of me. They get whacked.
That's true. That's why I sit over here.
In the early days, way before this show, like my early days of radio, a couple of times I, wave my arms and I hit the mic. It's like, oh, that's really bad. You don't ever want to do that again. And so I've learned to keep my hands below the mic and not raise them high, straight up. I can raise them high outside my microphone zone, I guess. But that's what I expected people to say. As Graham said, I've never shied away from images or declaring I'm a naturist. Well, I can't argue with that. What are your
No.
thoughts on that?
No, I mean, there are certainly arguments for both sides. And I think that what really did surprise us is that there were very, very few for this visual side. And most people seem to be quite content not to have that possibly video visual, but just a static shot. And that's all they really cared about. So it was surprising.
Yeah. I got involved with this one podcast, and you know the name of the podcast,
Hmm.
I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And I had all these ideas for them. They hired me. Like, we're hiring you to do the
Hmm.
podcast for us, tell us what to do. So I told them, and they came back a week later and said, well, we're told YouTube is the way to go. And I said, well, that's a totally different ball game
Hmm.
altogether. You didn't hire me for a video. I can do video, but that's not what you hired me for. Well, they went back and forth, and they finally decided, let's do video, let's put it on YouTube. And then the podcast was an afterthought. Well, to me, that was a mistake. I think they did it wrong because then they were more concerned with aspects of the video as opposed to aspects of the content. And to me, it suffered greatly. But, when people pay you to do something, you do what they want you to do.
Exactly.
So maybe that's why I was expecting more people to say video. And right, as Graham said, we're kind of sort of used to video and kind of
Hmm.
sort of used to seeing people, and it is more authentic. If we were to get together at a naturist gathering like our upcoming Thanksgiving dinner, or even get together with Graham, would we hold up pieces of paper in front of our faces so it couldn't be seen? Well, of course not.
Hmm.
And our clothes would be off, our faces would be fully exposed. We'd be having a conversation. So maybe that's where he's coming from. It's like, hello, you guys are hiding. Well, when we don't see it as hiding, but I know what he
Yeah.
means. It's, we nobody can see us, therefore it kind of has the appearance of hiding. But when I do the interviews with guests, they see me.
Hmm.
It's not as though we just do audio only. I mean, every guest, I think, yeah, every guest we've ever had on the show has been done through video. So everybody has seen me. They know I'm an actual human being. And then it's kind of funny when he wrote another note as well when he talks about us being 27 and how somehow putting video out of us will prove that we're 27.
Of course.
But if you don't mind, go ahead and read his last note there.
Because I think, if possible, go from logical breakpoint to logical breakpoint. More when there is banter between the two of you. Not sure there is too much value in video if you guys are reading an email. Not so much nonverbal communication and that kind of stuff. Note, though, it will probably lay bare, pun intended, the fact that you're both still 27. LOL. I'm not sure if that was sarcastic or not. What do you think?
I know the fact that he's even questioning we're still 27 with an LOL. Now, wait a minute. I thought we were pulling this off. Apparently, we're not. What do you think?
Apparently not. We tried, but we're 27 at heart, if nothing else. Okay.
We try to make it painfully obvious we are not 27. We joke about it and make other comments. You know, we're not 27. We are older than 27. And now, how much older? Well, that'll be the mystery for all time, unless we post images or videos or whatever. Not that we're trying to hide that; we're just being funny. Any final thoughts on anything we've discussed so far?
Again, I think we both are a little surprised about this. And I mean, these were not the only comments that we got. These were just the ones that kind of came in first. And, so it's been surprising to me because, as we said, if this is a visual society, and I really thought that people would, jump on the chance to see the videos. But we also know that our listeners listen to us in different manners too. They're not necessarily, run to YouTube to see a video. They are listening to us while they commute. They're listening to us while they're in the backyard or by the pool or at a resort. So, the podcast medium of just the audio is probably the most efficient thing that we could do, and apparently things that they enjoy. So,
Now, I've noticed on TV once in a while, I'll throw an older movie on, let's say from the 40s or even the 50s, and it's totally different than the movies of today. Back then, you had two people in a room talking, and that's all you got. You got a man and a woman, let's say,
mhm.
talking. There's no music, no special effects, no nothing, just two people talking. And nowadays, it's hard to find a show or a movie like that. It's almost nonstop sound going on in the background, whether it's music or sound effects or whatever. And it's hard for me to enjoy the TV and movie of today because I can't just relax and enjoy the content. I have to put up with all these distractions. They're distracting to me anyway. Some people like that. I particularly don't. And so maybe that's part of my thinking in terms of, we do radio because it's content driven and we focus on the content. If we do video, then our focus would have to be at least partially on the video. How do we look on camera? Are we looking at the camera while we read an email? It's
Mhm.
physically impossible to do both. We have to constantly look up and look down, which we could do, but it would change the flow of the show, at least to me, if we did video. Maybe not, because we're not entertaining. We wouldn't entertain through the video. It would just be the two of us sitting here talking. So I don't know. I absorb all of my podcast content through audio only, but apparently YouTube is, I think, number one in podcast land in terms of how much content they have on there. So I don't know. We're still trying to decide all this, but we wanted to bring some comments along. And Lisa, if I had to guess, I didn't do the math on this, we probably came down to three categories. About 5% said no, no video, don't care what you look like, just do your thing. About 5% said yes, video would be great. And about 90% said no video, but headshots would be nice.
Yes.
Totally blew me away. I never predicted that at all. How about you?
I'm really shocked. And again, I think it comes down to the fact that naturists are not about seeing, it's not about seeing other naturists except in the naturist environment. And, seeing a nude body is not important. But in interacting with someone at an event, a resort or something, or in a social gathering in the backyard, that's a different thing. And I think that I think it's a really healthy attitude. If you, if I was honest, I think it surprised me, and I'm actually somewhat pleased that this was not a driving force that people wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll let it go for there, and we'll continue to discuss this behind the scenes here. We do want to thank Graham, Wilson, Gerald, Greg, Jason, Peter for your letters. We got a lot more, but those are basically representations of what we got overall. And Lisa Monroe, before we head for the hills, any last comments about anything that we've discussed on the show today?
No, I think we've kind of covered everything. Again, we are very sensitive to what our listeners want. especially content wise. And so, we'll give this a lot of thought, but surprisingly, maybe a headshot's the way to go. So we will see.
All right. So I think we'll post Lisa's headshot immediately,
Uh,
and I'll think it over about myself. Is that
uh-huh.
something for compromise?
And no, that's not. We go together if we go at all.
That sounds fair. And on this Saturday show, we have David Berry and Gary Kite from First Coast Naturists, a non-landed nudist club in the Jacksonville, Florida area. I'm looking forward to hearing those gentlemen. And Lisa Monroe, if you promise to stay clothes-free, we'll let you go for a few days, but we will see you on this Saturday. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
And you will stay clothes-free, is that what you're saying?
Of course, I will stay clothes free. I always stay clothes free as much as possible.
All right, that's the perfect answer, and I know it's the truth. So, Lisa Monroe, go out there and have a great clothes-free day. We'll see you on Saturday.
Absolutely.
The very terrific, completely over the top, as I like to say, one of a kind, fully clothes-free, fully smiling, Lisa Monroe, as she goes waltzing on out of here. Actually, I'm not sure if she was waltzing or it was at a foxtrot. Who knows? I like dance. I like to see people dancing, but I don't know the different dances. But at any point, she was moving to some kind of rhythm, probably the rhythm of this tune, her background song. But Lisa does a lot around here, as you know. The entire website, the memes for Tuesday and Wednesday on social media, runs the merchandise, and of course comes in twice a week now to do these shows, these segments, just for you. So we appreciate Lisa Monroe very much. And as always, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. So write us early and often. We'll get back to you. A couple of people, the messages got lost in promotions or social on Gmail. And we don't check that regularly. So we checked it a few weeks ago. It's like, oh my goodness. These people wrote to us 6 months ago and never got a response. So we've vowed to check that more often and more regularly. So if you don't hear from us within a day or two, send it again. Send the same message again, because maybe that time it'll go to the inbox. But you can write us at nakedforevermore@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, on Blue Sky, our YouTube page, our Spotify page, our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. Multiple ways to reach us, and we want to hear from you. What do you like? What do you want more of? Just let us know, and we'll be glad to do that. And as I mentioned, this coming Saturday, on episode 141, David Berry, Gary Kite, First Coast Naturists, a non-landed nudist club in the Jacksonville, Florida area. So you want to tune in for that. These next 2 Saturdays, we will have those gentlemen on the show. Well, we hope you take the rest of today and tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the decade after and so on and so forth, living clothes-free for all of the right reasons. There really is nothing better. It just sets the tone for everything else that you do in life. When you get back to your roots, and don't forget, you were born naked, so getting back to the roots, being born naked, being naked right now, life just seems to fall into place a whole lot better for a whole lot of people. So we encourage you to, if you're in the life now, continue on. If you're not, you're thinking about it, give it a shot. You'll find, wow, why didn't I try this years ago? But we thank you for being with us today at Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 140. And don't forget to come back this Saturday for episode 141. And the week after, 143, David Berry and Gary Kite. Well, you've been listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 140 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.